Let me start by sharing when I first started thinking of purpose. So in the year 2004, I was amongst 200 Unilever leaders from all over Asia that was sent to serve different communities and NGOs all over India. We formed groups of 5 to 7 to see what we could learn from the communities. We lived, worked, observed, socialized, conversed, and asked questions. I was sent to Dharamshala in North India. For those who are not familiar, Dharamshala is where the Dalai Lama lives in exile, and that's where also the Tibetan community lives. And my task was to learn from the Tibetan community of how they could restore their heritage and culture in a country that is not their own. On one of the mornings while walking along with my colleague Baizurin, we came across two boys who had a certain sparkle in their eyes, and we just felt like speaking to them. So with the help of a translator, we invited the boys to have some coffee and some cakes with us, and we also had a translator. And I remember speaking to one of the boys. He was about, say, 14 years old, and he had actually come from Lhasa, and he had left his family behind, had come with his relatives to serve the Dalai Lama. And what normally happens is that parents who have many children send one of their children to His Holiness office to serve the community. And I asked him, and I said, now that you have come to India, which part of India would you like to study? And he said, I leave it to His Holiness. Wherever His Holiness sends me, I'll be happy to go. Then I asked a typical question which most Indian parents do. And I asked him, would you like to become a doctor or an engineer? And his answer surprised me. He said, no, I'd like to become a teacher. And I asked him, what kind of a teacher would you like to become? And he said, I'd like to become a maths teacher. And I asked him, why a maths teacher? And he says, back home, my relatives and my parents and my community members don't know how to count well, and they get cheated. So I want to grow up and help my community how to count. I was actually at a loss of words when I heard what he had to say. Here he is, a boy of 14, who's very clear about what he wanted to do with his life. And if you were to ask me that same question, or if he was to ask me that question, I would have said that I was waiting for my next career jump. I reflected on that moment, and I also learned that I was actually not honest to myself. While I was doing well in my career, but I was playing good politics at the office. I was polishing the right shoes, and I thought I was doing well. But I didn't bring myself fully to work. So I actually wrote a letter to my HR director at that time, Nick Mustafa. And I told him, Nick, I'm not who you seem. I'm not, how do I say it? I'm not whom you seem to see, but I would like to reclaim who I am. Allow me to speak without fear and favor. And if at any point in time, if you find that I don't fit well, please give me 3 months notice to leave the company, because at that point in time, my contract was 1 month notice. I don't know what Nick did with the letter. He probably filed it, but it set me free. In 2005, I joined the global laundry team, and that's when purpose came into my life. One of the brands that I helped activate across the world is Omo, also known as Persil in Europe, or Surf Excel in South Asia, Breeze in Southeast Asia, and Ala in Latin America. The world of a detergent was a low interest category where preference and loyalty was deeply rational and brands competed on highly rational grounds. Unilever moved away from my molecule is better than your molecule strategy, and it changed the game by developing a strategy based on a real global insight. And that is a child's development will always be a mother's priority, and it's never about the detergent. And we also learned that childhood space was shrinking. Children were having less playtime because there was a lot of pressure on them becoming an adult. Therefore, Unilever articulated this distinct anti-category view that stain is an enemy to stain is a child's best friend. So classroom without walls is as important as classroom with walls for a child's development. And we developed a global platform called Dirt is Good. While every other brand demonized dirt, Surf did just the opposite. It immediately gave the brand distinction and differentiation. The idea resonated in developed markets where mothers intuitively understood and saw the value of their children experiencing and learning from dirt. In developing and emerging markets where clean is good and dirt is bad, dirt suddenly became good when it is purposeful. So let's look at one of the earliest films that was produced in India, and it's called Puddles.
Number 1 is very big. Number 2 is big. देख क्या रे तूने मारा इसको तुझे अब भी देखता हूँ मारता है अभी ये ले
दाग लगने से अगर कुछ अच्छा होता है तो दाग अच्छे हैं ना। सर्फ एक्सेल दाग अच्छे हैं,
वापस नहीं करना।
Today, Surf speaks the same language in over 80 countries. As a result, it has grown from a 250 million euro brand before the Dirt is Good to over 4 billion euro in just 10 years. Now, isn't it good that children are having more playtime and the business is also doing well? So doing good is good for business. There are moments in our life when we come across campaigns that move us, inspire us, and instigate us to take action. I would like to share with you 2 such campaigns that inspired me. Religion is supposed to connect humanity, but more often than not, some people use it as a tool to do just the opposite. Hindus all over the world celebrate a festival of the elephant deity called Ganesha. Ganesha is the god of good beginnings and also inspires creativity, which you can see from this slide. Hindus tend to buy idols of Ganesha and bring it to their homes to celebrate. So here's a related campaign done by Brookborn Red Label Tea in India. Let's have a look at the TVC.
भैया वो बप्पा की मूर्ति लेनी थी घर के लिए।
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल आता हूँ, आइए।
भैया वो पहली बार बप्पा को घर पे बिठाना है, तो कुछ स्पेशल बताइए ना।
आइए, ये देखिए
4 भुजा वाली मूर्ति।
जी, इसे अभय मुद्रा कहते हैं।
अच्छा।
अरे छोटू, चाय चलेगी?
बिल्कुल।
देखिए
भैया वो कोई बप्पा की मूषक के साथ वाली।
हाँ हाँ है ना, आगे आइए।
हाँ, इस मूर्ति में है ना बप्पा अपने वाहन के साथ।
मूषक, आप जानते हैं मूषक बापा का वाहन बनने से पहले एक असुर था।
आपको तो काफी कुछ पता है। ये वाली
फाइनल कर दें?
एक्चुअली आज थोड़ा कुछ काम है, मैं कल आता हूँ।
भाईजान, चाय तो लेते जाइए। नमाज अदा करने वाले हाथ बाप्पा की मूर्ति सजाएंगे तो हैरानी तो होगी ही।
यही काम क्यों?
भाईजान, ये भी तो इबादत है। तो कल मिलेंगे ना?
नहीं, आप बप्पा की मूर्ति बुक कर दीजिए।
कौन सी? वो 4 हाथ वाली?
नहीं नहीं, अभय मुद्रा वाली।
Religion, we should talk of it less and practice more. I'm a marketer, and for me, marketing is my religion. The essence of religion is to make people look good, feel good, and get more out of life. Marketing does just that when it is done well. Malaysia, truly Asia, where I come from, is a land of diversity and is a home to many ethnic communities and ethnic groups. I don't have to say how painful it can be when ethnic integration gets compromised by politicians. Petronas, the national oil company of Malaysia, does some beautiful, heartwarming, festive campaigns. This is my favorite. The boy in the ad, Tan Hui Ming, is a Chinese, and the girl is a Malay. Let's have a look at the ad.
Her name is Umi. Umi Kazrina. I like her.
Why do you like her?
She wears earrings, she ties her ponytail. She's pretty.
What do you wish you could say to her?
Do you want to come on a date to a romantic dinner?
And does she know you like her?
No, I keep it a secret.
Why?
I don't want the whole world to know
Why not?
because everybody will laugh at me.
Why should they laugh at you?
Huh?
Why should they laugh at you?
She doesn't like me.
She doesn't like you?
My name is Umi Kazrina.
Who's your best friend? Han Hong Ming? Do you like him? Do you have a boyfriend? Who's your boyfriend?
Children are colorblind. Every time I see this ad, I hope children will never outgrow their innocence. One should not only be good human beings, but also good business beings, so that they can contribute to a better life and a better world. You can't order people to love their jobs. In fact, that gives them inspiration to quit and go somewhere where they find more exciting work. It is far better to help them find their purpose and their passion at work. And that's what I do now. I help young people find fulfillment in their work and find some meaningfulness in their work. And also I help leaders restore humanity to the workplace by being more influencing, more engaging, and more inspiring. Let me share with you the story of a young manager in Vietnam called Wu, whom I coached a few years ago. And this is how Wu introduces himself. He says, My name is Wu, and I've been working in this company for about 5 years, but on this particular brand for about 2.5 years. But I'd like to share with you a childhood memory of mine. My childhood memory is that of cleaning, because I come from central Vietnam, which is always flooded. So I'm either cleaning my house or I'm cleaning my school. But there is one memory that always torments me, and that's the memory of the toilet of my school. The toilet of my school had no roof, or rather a broken roof. It was dark, dirty, and the door would not latch. So I used to avoid going to the toilet of my school. And there were days when I could not hold on. So therefore I used to run home. And some days I didn't make it on time. I also have a younger sister. And I want to change that. I don't want children of Vietnam to have the memory that I have. I want them to have a happy memory of their childhood and not worry about toilet. Therefore, I'm happy to be the assistant brand manager of Vim Toilet Cleaner, because I know the more toilet cleaners I sell, a part of the profit we make would be channelized to renovate and sanitize toilets of schools all over Vietnam. And that's why I come to work every day. And Wu found his purpose by just being a brand manager of a toilet cleaner. Let me share with you another story. And this is a story that I read in a book written by Paul Smith. So in 2009, Paul Smith was appointed to the new position of Director of Consumer Research for P&G's paper division. And amongst his responsibility was also looking after toilet paper, which did not sound very glamorous or interesting. And in his book, he shares a story about how he met a colleague of his called Jeff Brooks. And this is what Jeff Brooks has to say. So let me read it out for you. So at the end of a week-long business trip in Budapest, Hungary, Jeff had a short train ride to the airport for his return home. He sat next to a fellow American who was now living in Budapest, and they struck a conversation. When she found out that it was Jeff's first trip to Budapest, she asked Jeff about his observations. And Jeff gave a socially graceful answer. And he says, look, it's a nice country. I like it very much. And there is so much to do in Budapest. And after a pause, he actually shared what he really thought. And this is what he said. The people here are very nice, but they all seem to be a bit little melancholy, depressed even. The weather is beautiful, so that wasn't the problem. Most of them seemed irritable and unhappy. And when he finished his story, the woman turned quietly, looked out of the window in a contemplative manner. After a long pause and without even looking back at him, she sighed and said matter-of-factly, you know what? It's the toilet paper. But the woman was dead serious. It was not funny. And here's the point. Toilet paper may seem like a pedestrian and unimportant part of people's daily lives. But imagine what your day might be like if all you ever had to use for toilet paper was a thin, rough, cheap tissue you might imagine to be a typical in Budapest 15 years ago. If that's all you ever used, you might be constantly chafed and slightly irritated in your nether region. Perhaps not so much that you thought about it constantly, but enough that it might just make every day a little less pleasant. And that's where Jeff found his purpose of developing a better toilet paper for Budapest. And it goes on to say that we may not be curing cancer, but what we do matters to people probably more than what we realize, perhaps even more than they realize. So if one can find one's purpose by selling a toilet cleaner or a toilet paper, imagine what more we can do with our brands, our products, and our services. I believe there's a pilgrim in all of us. A career is not a purpose. A noble purpose is one that is deeply satisfying, not only for your own self, but also beneficial to the society and others. And I feel lucky are those whose careers and purpose match. To those who are embarking on their purpose journey, I have 3 suggestions to make. The first one is ask yourself, if it's not for money, why are you serving the company and the institution that you serve? Number 2, I'd like you to stop using the word target market or target consumer. A target is something that you shoot. Instead, use the word people you serve. When you replace them with people you serve, it will build some empathy in your heart. And the third, I think we should all stop marketing at people and start mattering to them. As marketeers, we should feel more and think less. Thank you.